Good afternoon, everybody. Shavua Tov. It's a brand new week, and welcome to the Israel Brief, brought to you by Lay of the Land. I'm your host, Raleen Marks, bringing you the top stories from Israel right here on this platform and on our YouTube channel at the Israel Brief every Monday to Thursday. That's, of course, if we don't have a holiday, a chag, etc., etc. And we would love for you to be a part of our growing YouTube family. If you visit our channel at the Israel Brief, simply click on the subscribe button. It goes a long way to helping to tell Israel's side of the story. But let's get into it, because I know you're all dying to hear the latest headlines from Israel. And we begin, as we have for the last several months, with the COVID-19 global pandemic. In the last, I'd say, probably about 48 hours, Israel has reduced the amount of tests, and with that, the number of infections has gone down. But a lot of controversy yesterday when the coronavirus committee in the Knesset was shortened to include just 10 people, none of them are women. That, of course, has created a lot of criticism inside the country, and myself included. I'm of the opinion that COVID-19 has an enormous effect on women, and if decisions are going to be made that govern our health, that govern our economic resources, we need to be a part of that. But in some good news, the Transportation Minister has presented a possibility or a possible framework to the Health Minister about opening Israeli civil aviation. This would entail that people from countries where there are no high infections quarantine for up to 5 days on entry, and that those coming into the country will probably have to have a coronavirus test before they board an aircraft. Of course, this still has to be voted on and decided and debated, as all good things are, but we are hopeful that at least civil aviation and talks around it are starting to resume. And in more good news, Israel and India signed a contract on very unique cooperation during this time of coronavirus crisis. A team has flown out to India to work on unique ways that will help the diagnosis and treatment of the coronavirus. And the two countries enjoy good bilateral ties that seem to be growing quite strongly. But let's take a look at those COVID stats. At the moment, since the start of the global COVID-19 pandemic, 62,626 people have tested positive, with 473 fatalities. At the moment, 35,076 people are positive, 317 of them in serious condition, and 27,077 people have made full recovery. If COVID-19 wasn't enough of a big story, we also have to look to Israel's north. Last week, we brought you the story that the IDF had bolstered its northern command by sending select artillery troops to the northern border. And over the weekend, we heard language from Defense Minister Benny Gantz, as well as Prime Minister Netanyahu, saying that we will not tolerate any kinds of attacks on Israel's sovereignty coming from Hezbollah in Lebanon or in Syria. And this follows a drone crashing inside Lebanon over the weekend. And a lot of access roads have been closed while the IDF anticipate some kind of retaliatory attack after Israel allegedly killed a Hezbollah fighter. But in some reports in Israeli media, Hezbollah are not looking to escalate anything into a full-out war. And we always caution against using the terminology war, because that is something very, very specific, rather than a skirmish or some kind of altercation. And in other news, Jews around the world, including us right here at Lay of the Land and the Israel Brief and in our personal capacities, have said enough is enough with Twitter. We have, as of 9 o'clock this morning, embarked on a 48-hour radio silence and will not be responding or doing anything on our Twitter accounts. So what has led up to this UK rapper Wiley spent at least 22 hours over the weekend tweeting out the most revolting anti-Semitic invections. He was going on an absolute tirade against Jews, including calling for Jews to be shot and comparing Jews to the Ku Klux Klan. Well, many have decided enough is enough, and all of us around the world are supporting our brothers and sisters in the UK by taking our silence from Twitter. Twitter took a long time to enact any kind of discipline, suspending him only for 7 days. And this seems to be a growing problem with social media, that when hate speech occurs, they don't react, or very, very seldom react in a way that is meaningful. It must also be noted Wiley is an MBE, a member of the British Empire, and there is a petition circulating for him to have that withdrawn as well. What has been tremendously heartening to see is the many, many, many allies from the black community, from the Muslim community, from the non-Jewish community coming out in support, taking a firm stand against anti-Semitism, and we are really, really grateful for the incredible friendship and solidarity shown by our allies. So if you are on Twitter and you want to participate, you have to go silent for the next 48 hours with the hashtag #NoSafeSpaceForJewHate. Show us your solidarity wherever you are in the world. We are all joining in to say enough is enough. So those are the top stories making headlines in Israel. And don't forget, you can check out our content online at www.layoftheland.online. You can read the amazing article by Bafana Modise, who writes about how Christianity is intertwined with Zionism. It's also up on our Facebook page. While you're there, give us a like, give us a follow, and don't forget to share our content. We are on Twitter at @LayofTheLand5, Lay of the Land with the number 5, except for the next 48 hours. And a reminder of that YouTube channel at The Israel Brief. So with the Monday edition of The Israel Brief, I'm Rolie Marks, and we'll catch you tomorrow.